All right. What did you think about interracial relationships before you were in one?
That's a question for him because I didn't think about it whatsoever.
I didn't think about it. I've always had a special relationship.
Not like this.
Not like this, but I've always liked white women.
In 1987, a poll found that only 48% of Americans were alright with interracial dating and marriage. What do you think the rate is now?
Close to 75.
I'm going to say 50-60%.
Do you believe there's been a substantial amount of progress from now since then?
Yeah.
From 1980 to 2010, new marriages grew from being 3.2% to 8.4% interracial couples. Do you believe the rate will continue to rise, and why?
Yes.
Yes, because what? At least 40% of our children are all now mixed. They're all little Oreos running around.
What are some negative things you've experienced because of this relationship because of your race?
Black women hate it, and so do white men.
Ditto.
There's nothing specific.
No. It's not anything new for me.
It's for other people.
Well, when I first moved to St. Joe, a white guy came by and just flipped me the bird all the way down the street. But I don't know. I'm kind of adaptable. I don't really have a problem living around predominantly white people.
He likes it.
I can mix and mingle with anybody.
Yes? Not with me.
Well, that's another question. What does your family think of your relationship?
My family's all mixed up now.
Mine don't have a problem with it.
Now?
My ex-wife used to have a problem with it, but
Your ex-wife still has a problem with it. What do you mean?
she's coming around. For the longest time, my kids could even come around. But
Why do you think that is? Because she's white?
because she's white.
According to a 2012 poll, Michigan is the 13th most common state for interracial relationships. How many other mixed couples do you know, and what kind of experiences do you know of from them?
No, a whole bunch of them. What type of experiences? I don't know. They seem. I see some happy interracial couples, but a lot of them seem kind of trashy.
Yeah. Bad nights is full of them. Can you erase that part? Because I shouldn't say that. Because you probably go to school with people that go to bad nights. Can you erase that?
I don't think so.
Only my teacher's gonna say it. So
Oh,
Oh,
it's
okay. No, I have friends, and for the most part, all my...
Well, I get my biggest thing is, well, at least you got a pretty one. Most black guys I know get trashy white girls. That's my biggest.
No, a lot of my friends are happy. They have the same problems I do. Trauma with black women and...
Earlier you mentioned that you believed it was about 40% of your children are now mixed race. From 2000 to 2010, black and white citizens mixed together had more than doubled. 2000 was the first year that you could identify as more than one race on the census. What do your children identify as?
Malik says he's white.
It's half and half.
And Sprite says he's brown.
What kinds of things do you tell them to help them learn about more from each side of their culture?
Well, they live white. But for
They
Black
go to
History, she
prep.
made them do.
Yeah, they have to watch documentaries every year. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, whatever. They have to give me a report so that I know that they understand it. But they, I mean, for the most part, they listen to black music. They listen to white music. They don't really... I don't think they really care either way. Malik says he's white because he wants to be like Nicholas. But I honestly don't think he cares.
Well, they live in a white neighborhood. They go to a white school. They get their haircuts in a black neighborhood. They get their teeth cleaned in a black neighborhood. They play sports It's kind of mixed up. So they get, they get both sides on a regular. They don't really live. They not really like in the in Ben Harbor as much as maybe some kids would be, but they do get their fair chance to see the other side too, especially when they're with me.
So you believe that based on location, interracial children would be treated differently?
No.
No, I don't think that they'll be treated differently. They'll just get more of one race versus the other, depending on where they are.
Have you ever worried that your children would get not equal job opportunities because of their race as adults? Why or why not?
No. Discrimination now is a major thing everywhere. So,
Because we not in the
worried.
20s no more. People hire for who's most qualified, not.
Or unless you work at my job and then they just hire idiots. Doesn't make a difference if you're white or black. Just an idiot. Any idiot can work
Well,
there.
according to a 2012 poll, a white person was 5% more likely to be called back than a black person.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. But I don't doubt it. But I don't. As far as limitations go, I believe they'll be able to go out and find a decent job. Even though they have white, they look more black. Do you understand?
It's a difference. Depending on how you carry yourself, because I think my kids carry themselves more on the white side. They're not hood in any way, shape, or form. So if a hood person goes to an interview and comes across as being hood, they probably won't get called back. And for the most part, you've got black people that are in the hood.
In 2012, in Mississippi, 46% of Republicans voted to make interracial marriage illegal. What difference in opinion have you noticed from Michigan to Missouri?
That's a good question, because I'm from Missouri, and I live in Michigan.
Yeah.
Before I left Missouri, I had a white girlfriend.
That didn't go over so well.
It didn't go over well. Her dad was a chief of police. But when I moved to Michigan, it was a lot more acceptable up north than it was down south.
I think down south is still not as acceptable as it is up north.
It's not. And I actually saw that girl a few years ago, and she has mixed kids now. They're not mine, but she likes black people. She likes black guys. Her dad's dead now, but it's still an issue in southern states more so than it is in north. I don't think people up north even care anymore, but people down south still care.
I still think there's people that care.
Well, I mean, they're not. You won't get.
It's not as vocalized.
You won't get lynched up north.
I was
like
Malik
you
was
might do
one
down south.
when the KKK came here and tried to make a big thing. You don't remember that? They were at the courthouse.
They were at the courthouse. They
protesting.
They raised the bridge so people from Ben Harbor couldn't get over there.
So it's still a thing. And it's probably always going to be a thing.
People still say KKK is active, but
they're just not. I mean, they can't be active like they used to be active. It's not the 40s. It's not the 50s. They're not going around lynching people and burning down. They're not. They don't do that. That's not okay anymore.
Okay.
What have you noticed in differences from public opinion on interracial relationships from when you were children?
Like my mom, when I was coming up, I always had. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not just. I always like white women, but they wasn't totally. My mom, my grandmother, and them, they wasn't totally comfortable with it then. But my mom accepted Cassie now. I mean,
but if his grandmother was still alive, she would not.
She would accept it too.
Your grandmother would accept it?
Yeah, because they down for whatever makes me happy. But, but being in Missouri coming up, it just really wasn't popular, now. I mean, it's all good. My family don't have a problem with it. Of course, you know, your family don't have a
My
problem with
family
it.
doesn't care. We're all mixed up Mexicans and whatever. Yeah.
Do you believe people of different races other than white and black are treated differently if they're within interracial relationships? Asians, Mexicans.
I believe they can be. I think, for the most part, for a white guy and a black girl to get together is worse for people to accept than a white girl and a black guy, if that makes sense. I think people look at it worse.
What do you think that is? You're making a face.
Why do I think that is? I don't know. I don't know.
He doesn't have a reason.
I don't have a reason, but
But he doesn't necessarily like it. But it's okay for him to do it.
I don't know. A black man and a white woman has become socially acceptable, but a white guy and a black woman really still kind of like where we came from as far as black and white, period.
It's kind of new. I mean, I don't have a preference about it. Be with who you want to be with. White, black, yellow, purple. I don't care. If that's what you like, then that's what you like, and it shouldn't make a difference. But for a lot of people, it's still an issue.
Do you know any black women that date white men?
Char. Char dates everybody, doesn't it? She doesn't discriminate. She, whatever. Whoever she likes is who she dates. His ex-wife actually dated a white guy for a long time.
So it's racially acceptable for them to do what they want, but they're going to judge others doing the same thing.
Right.
Kind of like him.
I'm not.
He just said he doesn't like white men and black women. But he's
I didn't
like,
say that.
do you like it?
I don't dislike it. I don't have an opinion about it. How about that?
Does it strike you as odd?
It seems more odd than a black man and a white woman. If that answers the question. It seems a lot odder for a white man and a black woman. It just seems why I don't know, but it does seem odd to me. What about you?
I don't care. Either way. I don't care.
If you were taking a guess, what do you think would be the most two common races in an interracial relationship?
Black and white.
Mexican and white.
Well, according to the 2010 census, it was a white person and a person of mixed race, so that could mean a number of different things. Possibly.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, majority of the children now, like I said, 40% are mixed. So if you figure in another 20 years, how many of us are going to be all mixed up? I mean, we'll be old, you know, but how many of our teenagers and stuff are going to be all mixed up? And they're just, I mean, to them it doesn't matter. It's normal.
So you believe within a few generations there won't be any racism?
There'll still be racism. There's always going to be racism. You got Chinese people that are only allowed to date Chinese people. You got Indian people that cannot go outside their race whatsoever. They're not necessarily racist, but that's part of their culture, and they're not allowed to step outside of it. Not to say that some don't, because they do, but I think there will be racism for a long time.
I don't think it'll be. I think throughout the test of time we're gonna do away with racism because we got kids in there now, and she's white and he's mixed. But in her mind, she don't see a black kid. All she sees is her classmate. And I think throughout time, years gonna go past, and we're gonna do away with racism. I mean, you probably still gonna have those southern places where, you know, it's just still gonna be the forbidden fruit. But that little girl in there don't see a black kid. She may look at me and see a black man, but she don't see him as being a black kid. She just see him as being her classmate.
What did you think of other races as a child?
What did I think about what?
Other races as a child.
I always had white friends, so I was never even growing up in a in an era where racism was kind of it wasn't dead yet. You know, I still was diverse. You know, I had white friends and I liked white girls even when it wasn't popular. So.
My grandma dated a black man when I was little, so it was nothing new to me. For many, many, many years. Like, I grew up, he was around all the time, he took me everywhere. I used to be as dark as my children when I was little, and people used to think I was a stalker. So, are we out of questions?
No. I have another question written down, but I kind of wanted to end with it, and we still have
16 minutes.
But can we ask you a question?
sure.
What do
Did
you
you ever
think?
date a black man?
For me personally, I believe that it's not necessarily about color, it's about chemistry. And up until this point in time, I've never felt that sort of click
Chemistry?
with anyone of another race.
Okay, well, coming from our family, which has Mexicans, has black people, has whatever, do you have a problem with race? Do you
No,
think there's anything wrong with interracial couples?
I personally don't, but this kind of project is sort of based off of someone who's experiencing it, which would be you two. You don't think people look at you differently?
Mm-hmm.
They probably do, and I
I do.
don't care.
Are there more places that you feel more likely to be judged?
The school.
Why the school?
Because you got a lot of these two-parent homes. Um, either one, you know, you got
Black or
one
white.
race, either black family, and you know, everybody's black, everybody's white. So I'll probably say the school or either sport events.
Do you think your relationship would be easier or harder if you were a single couple without children? Do you think that adds judgment
Personally,
because
or
you have
racism-wise?
like racism-wise? Do you think that adds to it because you have biracial children?
I don't, but I mean, like I said, for the most part, when I do get it, I don't care. I don't pay attention to it. Or I get mad about it, but I mean, either way, at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody thinks. Or how they feel, or whatever. If somebody says something to my children, it will definitely be a problem, but as far as me, it is what it is. No answers.
Why have mixed kids?
Being someone that was in a same race relationship for so long, do you think that's easier, or do you think it's doesn't really matter who you're with?
Oh, it's hard, but it's hard for different reasons other than racial. As far as race, it's you know it's hard. It's hard raising other kids that's not your own. So it really don't have nothing to do with race. It don't have anything to do with race.
So going from your black relationships to me,
It don't have anything to do
I think that there's cultural differences for a lot of mixed relationships that cause a problem. There's not really in mine though. And that's probably because our family's all mixed up.
Do you believe there's anything that you do to make him feel more culturally accepted?
No. Do you feel like I do? I'm not necessarily cultural, whatever, accepted. Nobody knows what I am, so that sparks up questions anyway. So I don't, I'm pretty much not. I don't. I mean, how else do I put it? I don't know what I am. My dad was adopted. I don't know what I am. I can't claim like, okay, this is what I am. So, if somebody, I've been called Puerto Rican, I've been called Indian, I've been called mixed. If somebody asks me, I don't know what I am. People have spoke to me in Spanish. I don't know what they're saying. And I smile and I'm like, no, but for me, I'm like, I'm mixed up in my own. So,
Do you feel that's why you're more accepting of other races because you have a lack of cultural identity yourself?
possibly that, or because I grew up being around every possible race. So, I mean, we had bikers coming over, we had black people coming over. My family is not racist in any way, shape, or form. I got rednecks down in Arkansas, It's not, our family's just very accepting, I guess, of other races and always has been.
Coming from a primarily non-diverse family, do you think that it's more unusual for people of primarily black culture to step outside of their race?
Not anymore. It used to be. It's just not. We live in a whole different era now. I mean, what, 90, early mid 90s? Yeah, it was a little odd.
Yeah, I was like 6.
I wasn't. Early mid 90s, it was for a black
I
person.
want to say the end of the 80s, though, early 90s is when it really fusioned together. Like, it all started then, where, like you had Marky Mark rapping and sagging, and, what were they called? Wiggers? You had the Wiggers, and, I mean...
It just, I think time, like, back then, it was always a curiosity. A lot of people acted on it, but
forbidden
they
fruit
didn't
kind of thing.
A lot of people acted on it, but they didn't. It wasn't public knowledge. Now, the ones that haven't, they probably still curious, and it's a little bit more accessible, and it's easy now. But people still kind of don't want to jump out of their comfort zone, but they probably still, what I'm saying, kind of.
Think about it.
Yeah, they want to know what it is, like, but it's so accepted now.
Saying all of that, why do you think your mom changed her mind about her opinion? You mentioned that in the beginning of your life she was more against the idea of mixed race couples.
2 reasons. We left the South, and it wasn't a phase that I was going through. I always like white women. And me and my mom have a really a big time closeness, so you either get on board with it and ride with it, or and I think I really think the biggest part of why she accepted it so much was we left the South.
So, my question now, if you took me down south to meet the rest of your family that I don't know, would it be a problem?
No.
If we moved down south?
No.
It wouldn't be a problem then?
No, we wouldn't move down south.
No, we wouldn't
No,
move down
we
south,
wouldn't.
but I'm just saying if we did, would it be
No,
a bigger problem?
no,
Not necessarily just with your family.
no.
Why?
Just like I said, it's more acceptable now.
You say that, but the study from Mississippi was in 2012.
I'm not from Mississippi. I'm from Missouri.
But we're talking about the South.
When I came up, it was only one girl in the whole area that was known for dating black guys. Connie Smith. It was only one. I mean, that's bad when you can single out one person. She was the only person that, she was like, I don't like white men.
I don't dislike white men.
But she wouldn't date one.
I've dated them. I don't have a preference. I don't know.
And she was totally.
I guess I don't click well with.
She was.
So you believe that your relationship is based off of, what we call the click, not because of physical attraction to someone of a different color than you.
Exactly. It's definitely a click. It's not that, like I said, I've dated every race at some point except for Chinese. But, I mean, I've dated, I don't discriminate. It's just the click. What did you call it? The chemistry? I guess I vibe better.
What about you? Do you think you base your relationships based off the click?
Mm.
What do you base your relationships off of?
My relationship with you or my relationship with other people?
In general, that's what she's asking you.
Repeat the question.
I asked if you believed you based your relationships based off of physical attraction to someone of a different color than yourself, or because you believe you click with them.
Both. When me and her first met, I mean, I was totally intrigued. I asked her all kind of little weird questions and stuff because I just.
And he looked at me like
I
he was trying to look
I
through
was,
me all the time.
I was trying to figure out. I didn't know anything about her.
I was really uncomfortable.
It was people. It was people.
Saying bad stuff about
It was people that they threw mud on her name. They threw mud on my name, but instead of it making us run away from each other, I think it drew us together more so than running away. But they really did. They hated on us, and like I say, I didn't know nothing about her, and she didn't know nothing about me. Past where we met at, it was interesting. It was very interesting. We went through a lot in the beginning.
But I'm not gonna say. I mean, some of that has to do with me being white, but other stuff just has to do with having a crazy ex-wife that I happen to work with. So,
You name any specifics?
No.
No names.
Oh, she wants specific details, not names.
Oh, my car getting keyed and 4 big huge black women coming up there to fight little itty bitty me. Yeah. But that was more
Cultural?
It wasn't even culture. It was really it was bullshit. It was her being mad because she.
I don't think you can say
Oh, I'm sorry. Her being mad because he was with me. He told her, or she told him to stay away from me. Me specifically, and one black girl. So it wasn't.
This was before I even met her.
It wasn't
I
a
was
race
already
thing.
forewarned.
It was her personal feeling towards me as being a person. I don't know if she knew, like, off the bat that he was going to be attracted to me. I don't know how she felt about that. But then, after the whole scenario, this was before I even started dating him, that all this, my car getting keyed and everything. There was just rumors going around that we weren't at all. Not even a little bit.
What you yelling for? You got emotional.
I did.
You got a little excited. You got way up.
That was an emotional time.
I see. It's like you totally relived.
Yeah. For a minute thinking about. I haven't thought about that in a long time. But no, we weren't an item then. We were not dating. We were not I didn't even like him at the time. She told him to stay away from me. And because of that, that kind of intrigued him to begin with. And then when everybody started accusing me of it, I'm like, okay, really? You want me to take your man?
And then for like a week, everywhere we went, we saw each other. This went on for like a week.
That's why I took that.
This went on for like a week. Everywhere we went, we saw each other. To give him
a chance. Like the gas station, passing each other
everywhere.
We went. And
everywhere we went.
See, I believe in signs. He does not, but I do. So I took the fact that I kept running into him every single place we went as a sign.
And I took it as she was a stalker.
But we were going opposite directions every time we saw each other. But no, I mean, I took that as a sign.
If you've learned something from being in an interracial relationship, what is it?
Don't judge a book by its cover. Go for what you want.
I haven't learned anything. I've always been in a relationship.
Don't put yourself in a box. Go for what you want. Don't even worry about it. If they happen to make a new person in the world and they purple, if you like them and the chemistry is there,
Purple people
go
eaters.
for it.
Do it.
Go for it.